Dit programma wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door het International Film Festival Rotterdam.
Welkom bij Big Talk. Tijdens het International Film Festival in Rotterdam worden 10 dagen lang de meest bijzondere films vertoond. In het Oude Luxor spreekt Hans Maarten van der Brink 5 avonden met een bijzondere gast van het filmfestival. En vanavond is dat de Amerikaanse regisseur Michael Tully van de film Ping Pong Summer.
Great. Sit down. Well, welcome. It's your 4th time in Rotterdam. 1 time as a journalist.
3 times as a feature filmmaker.
Yeah. And the
This one
audiences
has
are
a bigger
getting
crowd
bigger
than the other
and bigger.
movies,
Yeah.
yes.
You're allowed to make a photograph if you want to. And I'll start my first question.
Okay. Everybody smile. This picks up.
Or wave.
Great. Thank you. Now we can.
Those earlier 2 films were quite dark pieces, although humorous as well. That seems to be a sort of trademark for you to combine these things, never being pinned down in one genre. Ping Pong Summer, to me, I was thinking, what is this? I would say it's a celebration of a certain place and a certain time. Those awful 80s with their bad music and horrible and
No.
And now we have a net here, and you can bounce the back ball to me. Wasn't it a horrible time, the 80s?
No, I think which I hope that you guys, when you watch the film or when people do and connect with, is I wasn't looking back on that. That was the time when I was an adolescent and the world was a lot wider. And when I went on vacation to Ocean City, Maryland, where we set the film, it was like dreamy for me. You know, I thought we were driving to Disneyland, and we were just driving 2 hours from like Baltimore, Maryland to Ocean City, Maryland.
So wait a minute, you grew up near Baltimore?
Yeah.
In Maryland?
Yeah, I grew up in Maryland. It felt like we were driving to the West Coast when we were just driving like 2 hours away. It was 1 tank of gas, barely would get you there. But there are these elements in the movie that, you know, someone might watch it and say, well, all he's looking at out the window is like a seafood buffet and a hotel, and he's like, it's the coolest thing he's ever seen, and that's how I felt about it.
And it seems you still feel that way.
I do. I still love eating a ton of shrimp.
I mean, this is why I called it a celebration. I mean, you like looking at the scenery, the sort of cheapish luxury of
Well, nobody, the way I describe Ocean City, Maryland,
families who are not that well-to-do,
Yeah.
but do want to have a vacation.
no one flies into
Let's
Ocean
not
City.
give away the story of the
Yes.
film, but it is about a summer holiday, and there are these little white plastic balls that play quite an important role. Yeah. But
Yeah.
is it a completely autobiographical film?
No, I would say that for me, filmmaking, what I found is the fun part is it's personal without being autobiographical. So there are a lot of things. My father is from Ireland, and he was a state trooper. As you'll see, we don't want to give things away, but a lot of these
But there
elements.
is a father who is a state trooper in the film.
Yeah. So he was a very loving. It was a loving parenthood that I had, or childhood with my parents, my mother and my father. And I just wanted to, with this movie, where Septien was an experiment to throw like Spirit of the Beehive and Night of the Hunter, and then a weird made-for-TV movie, and throw that into a Southern Gothic formula and see what would happen. This movie is like taking a very formulaic, comfortable 80s Hollywood movie and then inserting my own loves and passions as a kid, which included ping pong, which I still love. I don't know if anyone's going to the ping pong party tomorrow. I'm not really that good, but...
Oh yeah, that was the big surprise, but we can give it away
Oh.
now. There is a ping pong party tomorrow at 5, I think.
5 o'clock,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you were going to...
I might try to sign up.
Yeah. And everybody's welcome.
Yes, everybody's welcome to beat me.
Okay.
But that and also hip hop music was very important to me at the time. For me, I think the world changed in 1986 when I'm sure everyone knows the Beastie Boys and Run DMC, Raising Hell, that album. That's when I think hip hop culture went mainstream. So in like 1985, if you went to the mall and someone was wearing parachute pants, they looked like an alien. You were just like, what is that person over there? And then by 1986, it became a little bit more mainstream. So for me, this is a love letter to that moment in time right before hip-hop really exploded and changed the world.
Very hard to make a movie about a happy childhood.
It is, yeah, it's the most
Is it
difficult
bothering
thing.
you, having had a happy childhood and then
No,
nothing to build okay.
No, it's anti-drama. You know, like the stakes in a movie. If you go to screenwriting class, they're like, pull out the gun, have someone near death, and that wasn't reflective of or respectful of my own upbringing. And I think it makes for a real challenge to make a movie where there's no sense of danger. The father sort of, again, without giving a spoiler, at the moment when you're supposed to make the stakes incredibly high, where this is a life or death situation in the match, the father says, like, we love you anyway, it's okay if you lose, and that's not really the way movies are supposed to go.
And to boot, he's a state trooper, which is so cool.
It wasn't cool when he would pull people over when I was driving with him, especially people I knew, and I would have to huddle in the car. That was very embarrassing.
Just to pick up that thread, you mentioned the movie, Run DMC, etc. But the main the songs we hear are sort of a contradiction to that. I said awful decade, awful music, and I'm referring to Kiss, John Cafferty, Mr.
Yeah, well, that's the bad guys, so they didn't have the best taste, but other people had the good taste. And then our composer, I think, did really well. His challenge was to not just do one genre. He had to do the kind of legitimate hip-hop with the drum machines from that era, and then he did like the sort of Steven Spielberg Amblin Entertainment, the orchestral, and then for Stacy we wanted to have the kind of John Hughes ethereal pop music.
Stacy is the love interest.
Stacy Summers, the love interest, and then the bad guy Lyle Ace, we wanted to have the kind of Miami Vice, Tangerine Dream, little electro menace involved, and one guy, he did all of that stuff. It was really, really remarkable.
You know, this sounds like, I mean, you're having so much fun making this movie.
I started writing this movie, I envisioned it when I was a senior in high school, and that was... Age 17 in 1992.
You actually had an idea or wrote a script?
I was starting to write the script. So I said, I want to do a movie that kind of combines my loves of Ocean City, ping pong, and hip hop as an 80s movie. Then it was like a 7-year-old period piece, and now it's like Dirty Dancing or something. It's ridiculous. So I don't know if it's an inspiring tale or humiliating. I'm still trying to figure out the fact that it took 22 years to make this happen.
Well,
it's kind of both, probably.
It shows persistence.
That's okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm starting to change my ideas about a happy childhood. You know, people used to say an unhappy childhood is a gold mine for any artist.
I personally believe that if I'm in a true depression, I'm luckily enough a stable person, but I have my mood swings. When I'm really having a depression, there's no creativity happening. I think it's like the temperament of a creative type has mood swings, but when you're in the thick of a depression or trouble is happening, the last thing you're going to do is like, I'm going to write a great screenplay. You're just trying to like fight through the next day without blowing your head off.
But in your... But then, after you decided on the last minute not to blow your head off, and you're
then
out
a
of
great
the depression,
comes.
then you can build on. Do you make depressed movies and optimistic movies in your own mind?
What I'd
Are
like
they
to
categories?
do, I think for me, I just.
Because
I love art
this is
films.
feel good. You're not offended if I say that.
No, I think it accidentally was feel good. It wasn't like I was consciously trying to make feel bad or feel good. It just was sort of inherent and honest to the story we were telling. But like Septia in the last movie, I don't know if anyone saw that a few years ago
It
here.
was here,
That was one that has a lot of darkness, and it's sort of the cliches of the indie movie, of the abused child and all these things. But I still wanted to have a little bit of hope and optimism and humor. No matter how dark the movies I make, I want there to be a sense of humor still. Because we're watching, and I'll watch like Satan Tango, Bellatar, 7.5 hours, and it's like popcorn to me. But
Bellatar is about
Bellatar,
popcorn to you?
Yeah,
we
his
can
movies
quote you
are.
on that.
It's a popcorn film, Satan Tango. But I love watching dark, depressing movies. But for myself, I just feel like, for me, the middle ground is make something that's entertaining and engaging, but works on an artistic level. And I think the design of Ping Pong Summer was not to make a movie looking back with hindsight humor. Like, weren't the 80s silly or goofy? We were trying to make a movie that felt like it had been on television and you'd never seen it before. So we shot on Super 16mm film. Our references weren't 80s movies, because even those Hollywood 80s movies were already kind of tweaking the style and sort of exaggerating the style of 80s.
I think you have to elaborate a little bit on that. What is the 80s style and what is the pre-80s style?
Well,
is that easily explicable to...
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think maybe if you think of the John Hughes movies and Can't Buy Me Love, all these rom-coms from the 80s, it was just like brighter colors, like the world was a little bit more cartoonish and stylized, where our references for Ping Pong Summer, I brought in my family vacation photos to the art department, and we were looking at Ocean City, Maryland, which you'll see here, which has not changed that much. There's a shot of food that goes on for a little while, and I make the joke that that's like the same food that I used to eat in 1985. It's probably not the same food.
The prices have gone up.
The price went up $2 since then. That's about it.
So it was $6.99 for
it was
all you can eat,
$6.99,
and
but my
it's
dad
now
was cheap, so we did the early bird special, so it would be 50 cents off. That's where I come from.
Talking about your dad and you as a son, I'll be personal as well. What is the audience you're aiming at? Now I tell you something about myself. I mean, we're getting really close here. I was watching it with my son.
Who's 14, you said,
Who's 14,
right?
yeah, I just told you that. And he was sort of identifying with the main character, which seems to me the purpose of... And I was identifying all the time with the dad, you know, who says, hey, we're going to have real fun, and I'll dive into the ocean first, and it's nice here, we're going to play midget golf. And you see these kids like, oh, yeah. So I said to my son, but don't you see this is a great dad? He goes like, well...
Yeah.
But it does beg the question, who's this for? Is this for people who remember the 80s and think, well, whoa, I was young then?
It could be both. I mean,
or people who are young now.
Right now, yeah. That's what we're still trying to find out. We had a really great run at Sundance. Is it an American film? Is it universal? Is it for 30-year-olds? The biggest thing for me as a filmmaker is, like, I write about movies for a living. I'm the editor of a site called hammertonail.com, and I just hate the idea of making a movie from the outside in and thinking about the audience. I feel like if you're being true to your voice, there are other humans out there who will respect that and respond to it. So even if that's not their upbringing...
But you do think about genre.
Yeah, I mean, you're thinking about a lot of things.
Horror.
Yeah, whether it's comedy or horror or drama. But if you're thinking about how many people are going to like your movie, like if I think about how, there's a ton of people in here right now. If I think about while we're shooting it, we have to have at least 80% of them to like it, because then that'll be good for our sales. It's like you're never going to get anything done. So I think the truer you are to your own voice, you hope people will connect. And I'd love to answer, the cheesy answer is, I hope it works for people who grew up in the 80s and are looking back on it. I hope it works for 14-year-olds now who this feels kind of alien but familiar because the performances are humane. So yeah, it's for everybody.
And you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah, and then be a millionaire. That's the good answer.
So was it easy to finance this?
It was not. We have a low 7-figure budget, and movies are harder and harder to raise the money for these days. And we had about 30...
Low 7-figure means a little over 1 million.
Yeah. And typically at that level, one person writes a check for at least half or a little bit more. In our case, that didn't happen. We had about 29 or 30 investors. The city of Ocean City and Worcester County, the county where Ocean City is, they had a tourism excess. So tourism dollars, they have a little sales tax, and they invested in this movie.
Excess? They had too many tourists?
No, they had too much. They had extra money, so they raised the sales tax by 2%. It would have gone to like a Bon Jovi laser light show, so they figured If we're going to do
Let's have
that,
Michael
let's
Tully,
maybe.
yeah.
And then we got a generous grant from the San Francisco Film Society, so we were able to do our sound mix at the Skywalker Ranch. But yeah, the producer George Rush really led the charge, and we have a great team of producers who scrambled.
And
you know,
it must have been great fun making it.
Oh,
because
yeah,
we're
it was-
finally realizing. Was it filmed last summer?
It was filmed, we wrapped, you'll see a shot where the character, it's on the beach at night and the character runs away. We had the camera, the 16 millimeter camera strapped to the pier, the famous Ocean City Pier, and this was at 2 a.m. Friday night, Saturday morning. Monday morning at 9 a.m. the pier was gone because Hurricane Sandy had hit. Yeah.
How's it now?
That was the only damage that was caused. I thought the entire town. I was like, we were making
completely
a period
by accident. You made a historical.
Yes,
yeah.
and the funnier thing was that was the last scene we were shooting, and the DP and I, Wyatt Garfield, we initially had set up the shot where we weren't comfortable with the blocking, and we went to lunch, and Wyatt goes, the reason we're confused is we don't have the pier in the background. So it's like, didn't we come here to this location to shoot the pier? Yeah. So we had to relight. It was just the last day of shooting, we were all spaced out. And then Monday morning when the pier was gone, it was like, I'm glad we got that shot with the pier in the background.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of biblical timing, not to be too narcissistic about it, but when you're trying to make a movie for 22 years and then Hurricane Sandy hits.
And then, yeah.
I mean, a little bit, right?
At least it means you're in control.
Yeah,
somewhat.
Totally.
Yeah.
Thank you, world.
Talking about the actors, you found two non-professional, very young actors, or maybe even three.
A few of them, yeah. It was a mix of all of them were Maryland area.
How did you find them and practice with them, train them? I mean, can you do method acting with people that young?
No, and for that performance, a root of this movie, you could say it feels like The Karate Kid, but like my more direct inspirations were like the knockoffs of The Karate Kid. So there's a movie called No Retreat, No Surrender, which is Jean-Claude Van Damme's first movie. Not the best performance he's ever given.
And I don't see the connection really. But
well, so when you're trying to get these kids who are not actors to act to be kind of like that movie, the fear is if you show that, I didn't show them that movie. So what I was trying to do was within myself to bring out that sort of performance in them. But we did an open casting call throughout the state of Maryland, and we put out a call on Facebook and just told people, you don't have to have acting experience, just show up and we'll get you on tape. And our two leads, the good guys, they had never really acted before, and I wanted to insert that. That was something else I wanted to do. We were getting a lot of video auditions from New York and LA, and I just felt it would be dishonest to this movie and this community.
So they're really from...
They're really all from the Maryland area. And then Stacey Summers, who plays the pretty girl in town, is the pretty girl in town. She lives in Ocean City, Maryland. She's
the queen of the proms.
I'm sure she is. I don't know that for a fact, but I'm sure she is. But we had done an Ocean City open call, and then I got an email 2 weeks. I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and she missed that, but she heard about the audition, and she sent a headshot, and my wife and I were both like, that looks like Stacey Summers. So then we had to do a little Skype session so I could talk to her, but I made sure my wife came home from work so I wasn't Skyping with a 15-year-old girl by myself.
Always the cautious one, yeah.
But as soon as she opened her mouth, we all looked at each other, and another producer was there, and we were just like, this is Stacey. You could not have dreamed up a better person. Mm-hmm. And she wants to be an actress. It was a dream come true to see her at Sundance doing interviews, and it was great.
She'll go far.
Yeah, she definitely will.
We have to wrap this up because the audience is dying to see the movie, Ben.
Yes.
But we need to talk. We need to talk a very little bit about one other female actress in the movie, Susan Sarandon.
Yep.
For everybody who's tweeting here, breaking. Susan Sarandon has a ping pong school.
She's a co-owner of a ping pong club. No, it's called Spin.
So there is life after acting?
She's still acting. She's busier than I am. She's a workhorse, and she's always trying new things and challenging herself. But yeah, she's
just
a co-owner.
briefly, what is her thing with table tennis? This was the reason she wanted to be in the movie.
I think so. I mean, I think she liked meeting. Yeah, she liked meeting with me. She watched Septien, and she decided, yeah, I'm gonna commit to being in this project, which is a big risk for her. But we wanted to make the Mr. Miyagi character. It's like it's always a male, so I thought, why don't we make it a female this time? That would be interesting, at least, and not turn it into some weird
The
sexual
Mr. Miyagi
dynamic.
is the sort of guru.
The guru, the weird neighbor guru. So we decide on so you say female actress, and then you say a certain age range, let's say 50 to 70, we'll keep it wide like that. And then you think, and then who's won an Oscar, and then who co-owns a ping pong club.
Yeah.
And then there's
And there's only one who owns a ping pong club, and has an Oscar.
Weeks of research, we only found Susan Sarandon. Has all
So
those
you had to make
qualifications.
do, yeah.
But that's not to say that she would do it. And she, to her credit, took a big leap of faith and had a blast. She came in. Some of the best jokes in this movie are from her wacky brain.
So she took a risk, and I say she was right. Thank you very much for this conversation.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy the movie.
De nachtfilm die u gaat zien is Winter Vacation van de schrijver en regisseur Lee Hong-ki. Met gorddroge humor en hilarische dialogen schetst de regisseur de wereld van slimme, maar luie scholieren en hun ouders in het winterse binnen-Mongolië.
Dit programma werd mede mogelijk gemaakt door het International Film Festival Rotterdam.